Hey guys, so today I'm doing a makeup look for Ankha from Animal Crossing. So we're going to start out with contacts. I'm using my yellow ones from Pinky Paradise. I love them so much. Okay, and then we're going to use my two primers. I'm using Angel Veil and Elf Putty Primer. The Elf Putty Primer I normally put all around my face, just anywhere that I feel like it needs a little bit more. I put a little bit more on there, but this is just basically the base makeup that I normally use. Now remember, I do wash my face beforehand, and I also put moisturizer on. Now we're gonna put the Angel Veil just normally in the T-zone area, which is like around your nose, and just anywhere that your pores are really bad. You can just watch me struggle with the cap there. But yeah, just like that in the C-zone. Now, I always do this just because I find it makes my makeup just helps it keep it on just throughout the entire day. Now, next step is foundation. I am using the Wet n Wild foundation. Now, I'm normally one of the lightest colors, and I'm also using the e.l.f. concealer. Now, this concealer is one of the best concealers I've used, and the foundation is pretty decent. I do find that it's not absolutely full coverage, which is kind of difficult, and it kind of does smell a little bit. So, yeah, I just put a couple dots on my face, and then I use a brush to just blend it out. Next is the concealer, and I'm just using that underneath my eyes. I do use a lot of this concealer, but as you can see, I did not have a ton left. I did get a new bottle after this video, but I just put it underneath my eye, and I drag it out just a bit onto my upper cheekbones, just because I feel that it makes your face just look a lot more lifted and a lot brighter. Now, this is one shade lighter than my skin tone, which it just makes my under eyes just brighten up. Now, you'll see me just quickly blend it out. Normally, I use my fingers, but this time I decided to use a brush just because my dark circles were a little worse, so I wanted it to be a little bit more set in. Next, we'll be using powder. I'm just using Burt's Bees mattifying powder. Now, this isn't the one I normally use. I normally use a Cream Shop banana powder, but I figured that for this con, I would use a mattifying powder just so that my skin stayed matte and just perfectly set in. If you're doing more of a day-to-day look, I recommend a lighter powder, but since this was for a convention, I'm using this. Now, I am using a buffer brush along with the little sponge it comes with. The buffer brush is just to make sure it gets really into my skin and it just lasts all day, because that is the goal with costume makeup like this. You want them to stay all day. Next step is contour, and I'm using the e.l.f. contour palette. This is the normal palette and not the cream palette. As you can see, I use this a lot. Now with those bottom two shades, we are just going to contour your cheeks, just to make your cheekbones stick out a little bit more, and to make your face look a bit more angled. I normally do this with masculine characters or just very proud and domineering characters because I find it just makes my entire costume look better with the wig and with the rest of the makeup. Now I always contour my temples for these type of characters just because I find it just makes the entire face round out just a bit better. Now we're switching brushes and taking the lighter shade for the nose contour. I do this with domineering characters along with most other characters, but for Ankha I'm going to be going for a more sharp look, so I'm going straight down the nose, just like that. And it's just to make the nose look a lot sharper and a lot more straight, and it will make the entire face look more regal. Now we're just going to round off the nose. I like this compared to a lot more contour styles. It just personally fits my nose shape and my face shape a lot better than just a straight contour. Now for my favorite part, which is blush, I am using Unicorn Glow in the shade Cotton Candy. It's an orangey color and it just suits my skin tone really well. I take a dense brush for this part because I find the way it applies really nice, and I just put that all over basically. Now a lot of people do not like the way this looks, but I absolutely adore heavily blushed makeup, so that is what I am doing. If you do not like this much blush, you can skip this or alter this to fit your own personal makeup style. Now, the next step is the second blush. I am using CoverGirl True Blend in the shade Hot Frenzy, if I'm not wrong. Okay, yep, I was right. It is Hot Frenzy. I have a lot of blushes, so I can't remember off the top of my head sometimes. But I'm going to be applying that to my temples and then the tops of my cheekbones. Now we're going to do a quick brush switch, and I'm using a densely packed, smaller brush, and that is going to be for my nose. You can see that I lost my blush there for a second. That's fine, but I will be applying it just right underneath my nose, almost like a cat. That's pretty much the signature for a lot of my makeups, is just basically a cat type nose, and it really works well for Ankha, even though I will be covering this all with black, so there's really no point for me doing this anyway. Okay, now that this is done, we're going to jump in and we're going to be doing eyeliner, which I will be doing off camera, just due to the fact that it's easier for me. I will be basically just doing a traditional Egyptian kind of cat eye with a heavy under eye to add that Egypt look. Now I will be using blue underneath the eyes, and it just kind of covers there and just makes the eyes even darker on the underside. After that, I will be using blue mascara on the bottom lash. It's very important that you use it just on the bottom lashes and not on the top ones, because we will be going over that with the black mascara. And then now time for the eyeshadow, which I will be using my Tokyo palette, which is one of my favorite palettes, and I will be using the yellow shade. And I will just be carefully blending that right above the black. Now we're going to switch eyeshadow palettes to the Pacifica, and we are grabbing this dark blue color. I will say that it does turn out slightly green, which I don't like as much, but I will be basically doing a crease color along with blending out the under eyes, just like I'm doing here. This just makes the eyes look a bit more dramatic, and I just really like how it turns out. Here we go. I'm just going to continue deepening my crease here, and I did some of that off camera, but that's okay. I'm going to be blending it with my blending brush now, just to make it a more soft look instead of just making my eyes look like they're sunken in. And here's what it looks like up close. I really like it. So we're going to be adding the gold shimmer next. I'm basically just putting this over where the yellow was, which is just a very easy thing, and it brings back that yellow tone. Now don't be afraid to go heavy-handed on this glitter, just make it as sparkly as you want. It is for a costume after all, and you can never go wrong with glitter. Next we're just going to throw on the false eyelashes, which is just a very simple thing. And now we're going to move on to eyebrows, which I'm just taking a blue eyebrow pencil and just going over them really quickly and easily. And then we're going to blend that out with a brush mixed with a little bit of black just to deepen the color. Now this part is optional, but I'm just going to be adding some gems with just some eyelash glue and some gems that I got at Spirit Halloween. Now time for lips, which I will be using only one of those shades. I don't know why I chose both, but the blue one was way too dark compared to the black, so it just kind of looked weird to have both on there. I'm just going to be lining the top lip in this black shade, deepening it in, making sure it's all the way in, and just making it look very cat-like. Here's me attempting to add the blue and just seeing that it's way too dark and there is absolutely no contrast, and it just makes it look kind of weird. So I just wiped that off and replaced it with a light pink. And now we're going to be adding the cat features. I'm doing this very carefully, and I did have to reapply it during the day, but it stayed a lot better than eyeshadow or anything like that would. The only better option would probably be a body paint, but I didn't have that at the current moment. Also, the faces that I make when I do this part are extremely funny to me, and I have no idea why. Now we're going to quickly throw on the wig. I do straighten this wig later on, but right now we're just trying to make it work. It was supposed to come straight and it came curled, so I kind of just did the best I could with it at that current moment. So right now I'm just brushing that out. If you don't like scissors, I would look away now because I'm about to just cut the bangs real quick and just make sure that they are decently styled. Here I am just back combing the bangs just to make sure they get enough floof so that they look perfect. Now here I'll be adding the ears and then showing you how to make the ears look just a bit more realistic and floofy. And this is basically the final look. I did straighten it after the video, but I didn't add that in for some reason. So that's what we got. I think it looks good, and it's one of my favorite costumes that I've done recently.